Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC show. Coming up this week, we are going to talk about the best DVC resorts for couples. Coming up next. The DVC show is brought to you by DVCstore.com. For more than 25 years, the DVC store has been welcoming people home to the Disney Vacation Club with incredible prices on DVC contracts and knowledgeable associates who can answer all your DVC questions. Visit them at DVCstore.com or call 1-800-550-6493. And by the DVC forums on disboards.com. If you have questions or comments about DVC, our discussion forums are a great place to get information and join with other like-minded fans. Head over to disboards.com and join in the conversation. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you from the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friend Sean Falk.
Hi.
Jackie Gailey.
Hi, everybody.
Back in the production nook, Mr. Corey Fiasconaro.
Welcome home.
And joining us via Skype, Mr. Pete Shidley.
Hey, everybody.
And this week we're going to talk about the best resorts for couples. But before we get to that, just a couple things to remind everyone of. You can subscribe to our podcast, our DVC show podcast, on iTunes. Of course, you can keep watching it on YouTube, of course. But if you want to take us with you via iTunes, check out the show notes page, disunplugged.com, or in the description of this show right underneath there. There'll be a link where you can subscribe. Also want to remind everybody that when this show goes up, we'll be in the midst of our 7 DVC Resorts in 7 Weeks series. And I don't know when exactly this is going up, but we're doing them every Monday. We're releasing special shows about specific DVC resorts, photo galleries, write-ups, dining reviews, and that's going on from August 12th for 7 weeks, whenever that ends, sometime in September. So head over to dvcfan.com to check that out. You can also join in on DVC Fan Facebook group over on Facebook. Nice friendly group of people over there. Help answer any questions you have about DVC or just chat with other DVC members and people who are thinking about becoming members. We had a lot of people in that group who are not members but are thinking about it.
I saw that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So, all right. So, a couple of weeks ago on DVCfan.com, I put up a poll asking what's the best DVC resort for couples. We've asked best overall resort. We've asked best resort for families. And I thought best resort for couples would be a good poll. Few surprises in this. What do you think, Sean? What do you think was the number 14 on this list?
Hilton Head.
Hilton Head. It was Hilton Head. And I'm not sure why.
I think that, well, first of all, a lot of people haven't been to Hilton Head. I've never been to Hilton Head, so I think most polls that you do, I think the poll could be like best DVC resort in South Carolina, and Hilton Head would still come in the bottom chunk there. So just because people aren't familiar about where it is and what it is and everything like that, I grew up for the most part in the Carolinas, so I know, I know about Hilton Head and everything. It is definitely the ritzy area of South Carolina, and it's a very high-end vacation. I wouldn't even say town, like a little just area essentially, and it's beautiful. It's very nice, but it is also something where you would go as a family. I know the rooms are huge there, and so it does seem more appealing to families. But I would say it's just because people don't know.
Well, but see, and that's what I've thought with a lot of these polls that we've done, where we see a Hilton Head, Vero Beach, Aulani,
Were those the bottom?
Being toward the bottom, and I would say that it was because people haven't been there. But this poll kind of turns that on its head. I'll talk about the number 5. We'll go through all of them, but I'm only going to talk about the top 5 right now. At number 5, with 12% of the vote, was Old Key West. Okay. And I think, we just did a show I think it will be last week at the point that this goes up, talking about the pros and cons of Old Key West, and that relaxed atmosphere, the kind of I can see that being a great resort for couples. I fully agree with that. But number 4 on the list, which honestly is number 1 on my personal list, is Alani, with just under 13% of the vote.
That doesn't surprise me.
But Alani historically has kind of
Right.
shown up lower in these polls because a lot of people haven't been there.
And I think it's still the same case. I still think a lot of the same people in these polls haven't necessarily been there, or a lot of people answering the polls are thinking maybe they shied away because like they do usually go as families. But like even if I hadn't been to Alani, I would know that like Hawaii and all that is super couple romantic. Like it may even be just a wish thing for a lot of people where they're like, I want to go to Alani.
Yeah,
and that's
but
where
you
I go as a
wouldn't.
couple.
But you wouldn't say that about Vero Beach, and Vero Beach number 3
Wow.
on this list.
Wow.
That was the big surprise.
That's a shock.
13.1%
That's really surprising.
of respondents said Vero Beach was the best resort for couples.
Maybe it's because people typically go to Disney World with their family, like if they're DVC members or just whatever, and then maybe it's a thing where a couple has been like, hey, you know what, let's not do the parks, let's just go on our own and do our own thing, and like we want to go experience this as a couple, I guess. Like that's the only thing I could think.
I think that's right. I think that it's because more people have been there, because it's only about an hour-ish, a little more maybe.
Yeah, but it has come up at the bottom. Vero Beach has come up at or
always
near the
the
bottom
bottom,
of all the polls we've done.
Yeah.
So when I saw this, I was like,
Surprising.
whoa. And I had to go back in and look and make sure it wasn't the same person voting for this like 300 times.
Right.
Because we had just under 3,000 votes on this poll. So this was a decent sample.
Right.
So when I saw that, Vero Beach, and Pete, you let out a wow. I take it you're as surprised by that as I am.
I guess I wouldn't have thought that because I would have thought beach would be more family oriented. You go to the beach, kids still love going to the beach more so usually than adults, but I have heard that Vero Beach is very kind of isolated, right? It's a little not on the beaten path per se. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why it's a popular place to go with couples. You're kind of just at the resort and it's really relaxing, and you're not having to worry about keeping your kids entertained, and
Yeah,
maybe that's why.
that could be. Fiasco.
So this poll is about couples, and I'm surprised Hilton Head, although I've never been there, is as low as it is, because the number one thing that couples fight about is finances, and you can get rooms at Hilton Head for as low as 6 points a night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting. It's the
And it's
the Italian point miser back there.
It's gorgeous too. Like the town of Hilton Head is really fun for grown-ups to just go. I mean, when we lived in Savannah, we were just not even. It was barely an hour drive to that resort. And I mean, we poked around in all the shops and just boutique-like stores. Really cool place to go. Just
Yeah.
you
And
know?
I mean, Hilton Head, it's, for one, if you're looking during beach season, which having grown up near the beach, it's from Memorial Day to Labor Day, essentially. Well, even spring break to Labor Day, I'd say is the typical, like, cutoff range. It's really hard to find availability at Hilton Head. Like, I've looked. Like, I've been looking because I'm like, it's something I want to go just see and experience staying at the Disney Resort there. But then you hit this other wall where, like, through the winter time, it's way too cold to be going to the beach or anything like that. For me, maybe other people, I know there's, like, people go to the beach all the time in, like, Delaware and stuff, and I think that's way too cold. So, like, but I live down here, so maybe it's something to do with that. But even in Myrtle Beach, which is further, it's still in South Carolina. I mean, it's in the 30s and 40s during December, January. So I can't imagine going.
Well, talking about resorts that we thought, would be better for families than couples, number 2 on our list is Animal Kingdom Lodge. Now, Animal Kingdom Lodge has either topped or been in the top 3 of every poll that we've done.
Yeah.
Best overall resort, best resort resort for kids. This is not the one I would have thought of. Not that it's not gorgeous, and I love
Right.
Animal Kingdom Lodge. Don't get me wrong, but it's not what I think of when I think of for couples. I'm thinking more romantic.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, and I own at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I love it there, but it's not. I'm not sure it would have made my top 5, and I probably would have put Alani in my top 5, even though I'd never been there. But there's a few others that I would put ahead of Animal Kingdom Lodge. But it is a very nice resort, and it does seem like you're in another world almost. So maybe that's what appeals to people.
And out of fairness, between Alani, Vero Beach, and Animal Kingdom Lodge, the percent of the vote went from 12% for Old Key West to 14% for Animal Kingdom Lodge. So it's only a two. It's very close between them. But Fiasco, you want to say something?
Yeah, so I wanted to say something about Animal Kingdom Lodge because it would definitely be on my top 5. Surprisingly enough, I mean, I said this on a previous show. I've been to every property here at Walt Disney World besides Old Key West, but never been to Vero, never been to Alani, never been to Hilton's Head. So all the other resorts we've mentioned so far, I actually haven't been to. But as far as Animal Kingdom Lodge is concerned, when I think of like a couple's getaway, yeah, it's awesome for families, but I think it's just awesome for everybody. And they also have so many different good dining options there. So like, just like ample amounts of date nights. I think like more than most resorts you'd have access to there. And then like we just did the Wanyama Safari the other time. There's lots of activities at the lodge itself, more than you would have offered at really any of the other resorts. So I think it might even be my number 2 if I made my list right now.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. As soon as the topic was mentioned and we were going over it and I was thinking what the top 5 would be, I immediately thought Boardwalk and Animal Kingdom Lodge were the 2 that I was like, that's got to be the top 2, because Animal Kingdom Lodge, I mean, has so many things to do. And also, when you're buying these contracts, it's in the right price point by comparison, where like, yes, families, but also like, let's say you're a couple. I mean, that may be people who are just starting out in something and maybe don't have the money to purchase, a contract at Grand Floridian or Bay Lake Tower or something like that. And it's a lot. I mean, you're saving like $60 a point by buying Animal Kingdom Lodge instead. And if you're just a couple, like maybe that's what you can do and what you can afford at that point.
Right.
So.
And Boardwalk does top the list.
Wow,
with
look at
19% of the vote. So it was 14% for Animal Kingdom Lodge, 5 full percentage points higher.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise
for
me.
Boardwalk, and of course, proximity to Epcot, the whole vibe of the Boardwalk is very fun. I could definitely see Boardwalk.
The dance halls there and jelly rolls, the piano, like the piano stuff.
I mean, it's no doubt my number 1. I mean, my wife and I bought a contract, a 75-point contract there for the 2 of us to go to Disney World, and just the 2 of us. And our other contract at Animal Kingdom is for the family, and this is for that's for the 2 of us. And I completely agree. It's about proximity to Epcot. It's about the boardwalk there. It's wonderful to spend an evening just walking along the boardwalk, and then Jelly Rolls is right there. And, I always think that area is just awesome for dining, period.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just the boardwalk, but you're so close to the Swan and Dolphin. There's 3 or 4 restaurants there that are excellent. You have Yachtsman that's just across the
Honestly,
walk.
I'm just going to interrupt. A couple times in the last few months, I've been back to Flying Fish. I'm going to tell you right now, there is no restaurant on Crescent Lake, on any of those resorts, Swan Dolphin, Beach Club, Yacht Club, that tops Flying Fish. Consistently amazing. And that to me is a huge plus for Boardwalk. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, you did.
No, that's fine. But yeah, I think, when we do a couples trip, we're also coming to go to the parks. So, to me, something like Old Key West, I get where that's, where that's popular or whatever. But the fact that have this very adult. As I said, lots of options at the resort, but then also very handy to the parks at the same time. It's just wonderful to me. That, as I said, this was the only poll I voted in. The other ones I refrained, but this one I was like, nope, got to vote for Boardwalk.
Yeah.
So at least one of those votes is me.
All right, so I'm
I-
sorry. Go ahead.
Also, I mean, I work as well on our travel agency end, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Yeah, they have to get the plugs in, but so I do work over there as well. And I will say one of the absolute number one things, everyone always when they're submitting their stuff, you think it's going to be families, and I get lots of couples that come through and they want to go to Food and Wine Festival and they want to go to Flower and Garden Festival, and they're like, we go to this every year without our kids, and they want to be close to there. Even people who do, I mean, a lot of people then stay at value resorts because they're like, this is just why we're coming. It's a 3-day thing that we're coming to. But beyond the fact that like Boardwalk and Crescent Lake has a lot of stuff to do, that is like specifically couples come to do Food and Wine Festival and Flower and Garden and New Year's Eve and those types of things right there. So it's so convenient to stay right behind it.
I want to do this poll again, in maybe a little less than a year from now, once Riviera is open and really going.
And
because those tower suites,
Want to say, yeah.
I want to see where they rank.
So we said Hilton Head was bottom of the list with just under 1% of the vote. It was tied with Grand Californian. Both got technically 0.9% of the vote. Boulder Ridge at number 12 with 1%. Bay Lake Tower in the number 11 spot, 1.7%. Copper Creek, number 10, 2.3%. Saratoga Springs got 3%, the number 9 spot. Beach Club Villas. So you talk 3.4%, the number 8 spot. So look, Boardwalk,
that's
top the
surprising.
list. Beach Club at number 8. Both of them a very quick walk into Epcot. It's the entertainment and dining options at Boardwalk that really set it apart in terms of,
as well as the price, I think, too. I mean,
and I think Beach Club is very kid oriented because of that pool. And if you're just going as a couple, you don't want kids running everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think Boardwalk has, just walking around the resort and everything, you don't see as much of that. I mean, yeah, there's kids there, but the pool even isn't as crowded as Stormalong Bay. It's always, every time we've been down to the pool, there's always not a big crowd, and I think that makes it feel a little less family oriented, which is, I think, important.
Yeah. So 3.4% Beach Club Villas, number 8 spot. Number 7, Polynesian, got 7% of the vote. I actually expected this to be a little higher.
I did too.
Yeah, I did too.
Followed by the Grand Floridian Villas, the number 6 spot at 9%. I would have thought that would have been higher.
I actually thought the Polynesian was going to be in the top 5. I would have thought that had been number 3 or 4 somewhere in there.
No, well, it's very interesting. Go ahead, Pete.
I would have put the Polynesian and the Grand Floridian both in my top 5 in terms of what I would think of for a trip for couples.
Yeah.
I know Polynesian has a lot of kids there, but I still think there's that island feel that feels, almost, you talk about Alani so nice, but yeah, it's not Alani, but it's very tropical, and it feels like you're off on a, exotic vacation.
Right. Well, the whole thing, what I noticed is that there are like groups of resorts that are clumped together. So you have Hilton Head, Grand Californian, and Boulder Ridge, all about 1%. Then you have Bay Lake Tower, Copper Creek, Saratoga Springs, and Beach Club, which are all between 2 and 3.5%. Then you have Polynesian and Grand Floridian, which are between 7 and 9%. Then you have Old Key West, Aulani, Vero Beach, and Animal Kingdom Lodge, all between 12 and 14%, and then Boardwalk at 19%.
Yeah.
So it was interesting the way these were clustered
that is interesting.
Together. But yeah, I mean, I love doing these polls because it does, and again, this is not a scientific poll.
What's everybody else's thought? I mean, I said Boardwalk's my number 1. What does everybody else think?
Aulani.
Yeah, I was just about to ask what people's top fives were of our group. Like, Jackie, do you know what your top five is?
I would say, just for my husband and I would say the boardwalk ranks pretty high up there. We've stayed there before, just us, and it was really cool. So that would actually be number 2 for me, though, because the Grand Floridian is my
That's
absolute.
That's your happy place.
It
Yeah.
really is, yeah. So boardwalk is number 2. 3, I would say Old Key West, because I do love it there. Even though we own it Saratoga.
Is that because of the seclusion at Old Key West?
Yeah.
Because I was surprised about
It
Old
is.
Key West. Okay.
I like it. I like the fact that you're at Disney, but you don't feel like you're at Disney. Something about that really floats my boat. I just really think that that's cool that you're and you're not terribly close, but you're close enough.
Right.
And then I'm gonna say Saratoga is 4, and probably Animal Kingdom is 5. Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Fiasco, what would have topped your list?
I would probably say Boardwalk too, but I also think it's interchangeable with Beach Club because while you have to walk a little bit farther at Beach Club, you still have access to the same stuff. I think if you took Boardwalk out of the equation, Beach Club probably would have actually performed a lot better. I think they're just choosing Boardwalk over Beach for that reason.
Well, Pete said Boardwalk was his number 1. Sean, what about you?
I thought Boardwalk would top the list.
But what is your number 1?
Probably. I think Animal Kingdom Lodge would be my
Really?
number 1. I love all the dining there. I love all 3 dining options. I love, and then even like the Mara is really good too. So I like all 4 dining options. I love that you can walk out onto the Savannah, even if you're not in a Savannah view room. So you're not held back necessarily by getting that standard room. You can still really go and experience that part of things. I think it's nice, and I think the price point is really good for that, and it's easier as a couple. I think that for most people, they're only going to get like a long weekend. Like maybe they're just going to take off a Friday and a Monday and like leave the kids somewhere. So they're not really coming a full week or 2 like they would with the whole family. And I think that's got some good availability a lot of the times to pop in and get a weekend kind of thing as like a let's just get away.
Well, no question, Aulani would top the list for me.
Oh, yeah,
I've been out there so many times, and Aulani is I think it may be the best DVC resort in existence, not just in terms of couples. I think for families, I think for amenities, I think for location, I think for couple, all of it. I think for me, Aulani wins, and so I was happy to see it
In the top.
in the top 5. But there you go. That's our list of the best resort, or actually it's your list of the best resorts, best DVC resorts for couples. And that will do it for this week's episode of our show. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back with you again next week with another edition of the DVC show. Have a great week, folks.